Welcome back to Delivering More, folks. I'm your host, Ben Alkire. We appreciate you consuming the content morning, afternoon, and evening whenever you can. As always, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That's going to help us out more than you could ever know. I have an amazing guest and partner with DeliverThat here today. Joining me, I have CEO of Foodee, Barb Anderson. Barb, how are we doing?
I'm doing great today, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing very well. We're quickly approaching another weekend, so I always get a little more cheerful as we encroach.
Exactly.
Where are you joining me from today?
I am a Canadian. I live in a very small town in British Columbia. It's called Fernie, BC. So we're a little mountain town that is alive in both the winter and the summer. So yeah, to your point, on weekends, it's very fun to get out and climb mountains and ride bikes and do all those fun things.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of cool like national parks and stuff out there that I've seen pictures of. It looks amazing. It'll have to be a destination at some point for myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime.
Where were you born and where'd you grow up? Have you always been from the area?
I am a Western Canadian, so grew up in Edmonton, Alberta. For those that may not know Edmonton, I'm sure you know the hockey team of the Oilers, are probably the claim to fame. So yeah, I grew up there, went to university in Edmonton, a quick stint in Calgary, but yeah, basically born and raised Albertan, had my kids there and then moved out to the Toronto area in 2008. So
Nice. I appreciate all that background. I did have here the University of Alberta Bachelor of Commerce. Would that be like a Bachelor of Business in the United States? Same thing?
exactly.
Nice. Okay. And is the schooling system the same in Canada? Is these not like you do 4 years of high school and go straight to 4 years of university?
That's correct. Yeah, for the most part. So yeah, we have, I think a very solid education system in Canada. Not that I'm an expert and should not, be speaking on it necessarily, but yeah, so exactly as you've described, kind of 4-year undergrad onto master's and then some. So
Amazing. And then you have a very great background in a ton of marketing positions. I saw kind of previously before your time with Foodee. You spent some time with the Canadian airline, Intuit, and then now working your way from SVP sales and marketing at Foodee to now CEO. So can you just walk me through a little bit of your background? Did you always plan to get into marketing? Did you have dreams to be a CEO of a company at any point in time? How did we get to where we are now?
yeah, well, thanks for asking that, Ben. I mean, that's so I would say that my career is one that has been primarily in technology. It has been in big companies like Intuit, as you've mentioned. I feel like I grew up there, but also in small and in startups of 85 people, 50 people, etc. I think that I fell into marketing. It wasn't something that was certainly on my roadmap, but it was something that at the time anyway, kind of combined this data-driven approach, right? So you think about e-commerce, you think about direct marketing at the time, and, just kind of being a little bit of creativity. I think I probably learned pretty early on that I was a better generalist. And so able to kind of work with different groups and understand how they operate and support different leaders, either my direct reports or my peers, probably better than I was a purely functional leader. So I think probably early on in my career, I understood that being more of a general manager, GM, COO, et cetera, was something at least I thought I could provide more value to an organization from. So I've really loved this staying within technology, moving from the accounting software world to now food tech. But also kind of moving back and forth between big company and small has been a really great way to learn and flex skills and yeah, just see different types of organizations. So
Yeah, it's a very impressive journey to be very honest with you. I think I did want to ask initially, now that you're in the food realm, did you grow up at all in the restaurant business? Were you a server or a dishwasher or anything like that growing up?
I did not. And I think that makes me pretty unique actually within our company. We, and I'm sure DeliverThat similar, and some of the other partners I'm sure you've had on, there is a love of food that brings us all together, brings, kind of whether it's owned restaurants, worked in restaurants, care about the environment and kind of the role that food plays and food production plays, food delivery plays in our environment. So no, I do not have any of that in my background. What I do have in my background though is two things that I think are very relevant. So the first is, my time at Intuit, spent a lot of time supporting small businesses and working in the QuickBooks product. And a lot of small businesses are restaurants. And so had this kind of passion and DNA and passion ignited in me around supporting and making sure that small businesses could survive and thrive. And so again, many of them are restaurants. I guess on the other side of it, on the more corporate culture side of what we do, I've been in big tech companies. I've been in the areas of folks that bring corporate catering in, that see food as an important culture building, and talent acquisition, talent retention. So I see the power. I've seen the power of food from working in those companies, and so again, I think it is an important connection point, particularly post-pandemic. So.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't necessarily consider that, having different kind of avenues within the realm of the consumer side of things that maybe you've experienced with those companies, as well as like the accounting background that you mentioned. It's all very, very cool. What if we want to briefly give the viewership and the listeners a quick background on who and what Foodee is, could you just give me a brief definition of who you guys are, what you are, where you service, what markets, things like that?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we're a platform that uses technology to connect local restaurants with corporate clients. So we deal with, kind of catering orders, which is why we're here talking today. We manage the end-to-end experience. So from ordering and working with the restaurant, working with the client, through to delivery on the other side of it. We have technology that manages that entire experience, and a lot of great humans behind the technology that are also making it happen. Our markets, to your question, so primary markets for us are Vancouver, Toronto, the Bay Area, New York, Washington, D.C., Austin, and Denver. And we've just recently launched in Boston as well.
Amazing. I noticed you mentioned local restaurants. I feel like you guys put a very strong emphasis on your partnerships with the restaurants who operate within your guys' marketplace. Why are those so important to you? Is it always specifically hyper local concepts or things like that? Or why is that such a big thing that you guys do on your end?
Yeah, I think from a couple of different altitudes is important to us. So, we were founded as a company to, help local restaurants survive. That is, we were founded by a restaurateur, back to your question before. And so making sure that we are putting money into their pockets and taking them large corporate orders. Big chains and big national brands are obviously very great and provide a lot of value, but they have the big marketing engines. We want to be that big marketing engine for a local business and help them, as I said before, kind of survive and thrive. I think on a more granular level, many of our clients care about investing in their communities. They want an authentic cuisine to come into their office and feed their teams. They also want, Maria's Tacos, which is down the street from them, and they see within their, kind of communities, they want to make sure that those dollars are circulating back through. So it's not just who we are and the mission and vision we want to see through, but it's also, frankly, what our customers are asking for, which is that hyper local, to your point.
Yeah, I feel like that's true to anytime I go visit somewhere too. I want to go to like somewhere hyper local, like a little mom and pop. I don't want to go to like, not to bat like TGI Fridays, Chili's, like these concepts that are everywhere across the United States. I want to go to like Greg's Chicken Wings, like somewhere that I've never heard of, that I'm never going to see again, never get the chance to eat that again. I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. And what a delighter from an employee perspective when you can bring some of those local favorites into the office, right? Like it's almost this wow factor. I can't believe we had Greg's Chicken Wings come in and that's who I got to have for lunch today. That's pretty amazing. So.
Yeah, I agree. Do you see, so Foodee as a whole, then you mentioned the kind of the marketing aspect. Do you see your guys service as a marketing wing for these restaurants that partner with you guys? You guys, I believe the offerings is marketing is kind of in that little pamphlet, right, that you develop with these folks?
Yeah. So we want to leave restaurants to do the things that they do best, which is create great food, get great experiences for their clients. And that's not to say that they, restaurant owners, as we know, wear multiple hats. So that's not saying they can't do marketing, they can't do delivery and those things, but we want to take some of those admin type work and kind of take it off their plate. So whether it's marketing and sales to get customers in, whether it's scheduling the orders, working with great delivery partners to make sure that the orders get there, handling payments. So all of those pieces we take off of their plate so that they can do the work that they love, and hopefully we're making it as seamless as possible for them.
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. You mentioned obviously letting the restaurants kind of do what they're best at, which is, making the cuisine that concept was designed to produce, put out, and have a great end product to the consumer. So I'm on the same page there. Always let them do kind of what their hedgehog concept is and let the others take care of the rest. So we're in full agreement there. I appreciate that.
Amazing.
I do kind of want to ask some general questions about your guys' operations, if you allow. So obviously being a Canadian founded company and then moving into the American markets, were there major struggles in developing things like that? Like you mentioned, the Bay Area is obviously a massive population. Washington, D.C., massive population. Are there struggles going into smaller markets? Are you guys heavily focused on the major markets in the United States? How do things like that work on your end?
Yeah, so I think generally, and I wouldn't necessarily make the distinction Canada and US, but we are a platform business. We are a marketplace business, right? So we have two sides of our platform that we need to grow together. And it is kind of the classic chicken and egg situation. What comes first? And so I think that the challenges of entering a new market are kind of general to that. How you need a certain number of restaurants on your platform to get clients interested. If you don't have enough clients, the restaurants will leave, or they will not be accustomed to doing your orders, et cetera. So I think that those are the challenges that you see in any market until you hit a critical mass. To your question around size of market, yeah, like you are going to hit critical mass faster when you're in a larger, dense area that has more of your target customers than if you go to a small market. So I think that that is a challenge that is not unique to Canada or the US, but of course there are more large markets in the US. I guess one other thing that we see, so we are a Vancouver founded and headquartered company. That was our first market. Toronto was our second market. So I think just because we've been in those communities for so long, we have greater brand awareness. So that does make things easier, but that's about time and market. And I think also, being a name for many years on the Vancouver kind of technology scene, that has also helped, with Vancouver tech clients, as an example, just knowing who we are before we have to go in. But that is just unique to us being home based there.
Yeah, that's I love how you start out mentioning the chicken or the egg facet of the business, because that's literally Jim's over here like nodding his head when you said that, because that's something we have discussed personally for our business as well, right? You go into the market, you either have the partners and deliveries or you have the drivers, and it's the same thing. Like you got to have one or the other, and you got to have some sort of balance to make sure the two it's cohesive and makes sense together. So that's very interesting for both of our businesses, I think.
Exactly. Any type of marketplace business, I think, or platform business model has those same challenges, especially businesses like ours, like yours and ours, where it's a very curated and a very managed platform. It just adds that extra level of complexity. It's not just like doors wide open, let's go. There's a lot of curation that we need to do from a partnership perspective, whether it's restaurant partners, delivery partners, to make sure we have the best of the best, kind of handling orders for our clients. So yeah, it adds that extra level of complexity.
And a little while ago, you mentioned how the business, your guys' kind of point of attack post-pandemic and things like that. I did want to just bring it up a little bit. I'm not one to harp on COVID. I feel like maybe everyone's kind of moved through it, hopefully, at this point in time. But just to bring that back to the limelight a little bit, how hard-stricken was your guys' business during that time? As you mentioned, you're working with hyper-local restaurants. Those were more than likely the people that are getting shut down in that capacity. A lot of those restaurant owners were really struggling during that time, and you guys are attempting to offer kind of a gateway out of things like that, give them an opportunity to get more sales, get catering, things on the boat. Were you guys doing well during that time? Was there a period of struggle? How was it for you?
Obviously, we're a company that takes food to offices. We were impacted by the pandemic. I think, though, as back to kind of sunnier and brighter days ahead, we are definitely seeing a return to office. We stayed focused on food to office. And while we did some experiments through the pandemic to see, whether it was residential or otherwise, we did remain focused on our bread and butter, which was food to offices. I think what we're seeing coming out is kind of three things. I would say, number one, food is still important. People are in the office and food is still important. If anything, it's actually more important amongst our clients to get people into the office. Our clients recognize that they need to earn the commute. And so they are investing in higher budgets at lunchtime, more happy hours, breakfast, etc. So while they may not be in the office 5 days a week with hybrid, for the 3 days that they're in, food is a really core piece. I think the second thing that we're seeing as we come out of the pandemic is just how important it is to have flexibility in the product, right? Some days you don't know who's going to be in the office until the morning of. So you need to be able to give them ordering options, ordering tools. Barb came in, she wasn't supposed to be here today. I want to make sure that she has lunch. And so we've spent a lot of time kind of adding some robustness, if you will, to our same day offering and our same day partnerships to make sure that Barb gets lunch and isn't going to be complaining about not having her free lunch. Last but not least, I think one of the things that we were able to do, and we've learned through the pandemic, is we've introduced a new product called Foodee Served, which is effectively our pop-up experience. So one of the things we've seen where larger companies that maybe had on-site cafes, canteens, kitchens in the past, they're not opening those canteens every day or at all. And so we've been able to go in with our local restaurant partners, take over one of the stations and have a really delightful experience for the employees there with, a local restaurant on site serving. And so we've had great success with that in the DC area and a couple of other areas. So really just kind of back to, yes, the pandemic impacted our business. We did stay very focused on food to offices. We've made a couple of small adjustments and pivots, but as we see here, people are coming back in and food is as important as it ever has been.
100%. And I remember, for the first 3 years of my time to DeliverThat, I was on the dispatch end of things. And obviously our partnership has lasted, I believe, since I've been here, I think maybe 2018, 2019. And back then I remember your guys' ordering process, you allowed people to basically like update the order individually and like going into the day of. Is that still your guys' ordering process? How does it work on the consumer end to get these caterings in? Because I know like with most people, you're calling in the $300, $400, $500 sheet of items. You have your brisket, your cornbread, this, that, the other. For you guys, I believe a lot of times it was almost more individually based. Is that still true, or am I off base there?
No, you got it. So we, have a wide variety, I guess, of ordering options, from the admin at our client ordering on behalf of their entire staff to employees ordering for themselves. And yes, up till, kind of 2 hours before the delivery, we would allow changes. And so in the past, those changes were probably a bit more manual and done by our amazing support team and accepted by our amazing partners. But now there's a lot more technology that is driving that behind the scenes. And so just, again, we recognize that's a need that our clients have, whether they're additions or changes to the orders. And we want to make sure we fulfill that using technology as much as we can.
That's amazing. And I wanted to address then the Foodee Served. Is that what the new product was?
It is,
Foodee
yeah.
Served. And so is that like a quasi like food truck coming onto site, or you guys are going into the kitchen locations that are unused and operating out of there?
That the latter. So we are going in and we would use the stations. So whether, it's kind of the, think of your standard, corporate cafe and corporate cafeteria. So we would go in, usually the restaurant would bring a couple of employees. They would have everything kind of pre-prepared for the most part ahead of time, come in, set up, and, away they go down the line. We have some clients that fully fund that for the employees, or we're able to, kind of take employee payments if that's the option as well. And as I said, it's a real delighter, not just because we're having great food come into the office, but you're actually seeing, and sometimes the owner of that restaurant in there and being able to represent their restaurant with, 100, 200 employees kind of in their lineup.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a pretty good amount here too, is just the opportunity of catering in general, especially when you're mentioning something like that, when the owner can come off site and present his cuisine in front of, like you said, 100, 200, 300 plus people in an office. That's, I mean, you're going from a one-to-one interaction, possibly gaining one customer, to gaining hundreds of customers just by one, like 1 to 2 hour session of lunch. It's, the opportunity is unbelievable, I think.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, exactly. And it goes back to many of our clients want to invest in the local community. And so this just creates, is another way to create that cycle, right? Of kind of keeping the dollars in those small communities and bringing exposure to some of the great restaurants that they have.
Awesome. I do so obviously, we are a buy drivers for drivers platform here at DeliverThat. So I'd be remiss not to talk about the delivery aspect of all this stuff a little bit. But just obviously going from the A to B, getting the food prepped on time, getting it out the door, making sure the order's correct is one thing, and then you have to make sure it arrives on time, looks presentable, and looks the same as it did when it left the store, right? Is, I would believe, the end goal for everyone. So for you guys specifically, I think the answer is probably fairly obvious, but how important is the delivery aspect for your guys' orders? Are you guys seeing way more delivery? Are you seeing some pickup? What are things like on the Foodie platform?
Yeah, so delivery is the vast majority of our business. The only other option for us is the pop-up. And again, that's a new and emerging kind of product for us. I think, yeah, you said it. The answer is obvious. Delivery is critical, right? We are dealing with corporate clients where expectations are high. And so expectations that the food will arrive there on time because they have a fairly narrow window they need to hit for lunch for a variety of reasons, whether it's, just staff lunch, not just, but staff lunch, a board meeting, a call center team that has a 30-minute window to hit. So that timing is very important, but also we want it to get there at the highest level of quality, right? We don't want anything to be damaged. We don't want it to be cold. So the delivery process is the final and most visible part of what we do, right? There's all these things that have happened to get ready for that moment. And that's the thing that, kind of is the end of a very important journey, I guess, for that order.
Do you guys ever get feedback from restaurants specifically in regards to delivery partners or drivers and things that we could be doing better, whether it's communication, timeliness, preparation, anything like that on your guys' end that you guys see?
Yeah, so I would say that we work with great partners, so the feedback is fairly minimal, right? In terms and of course, no one's going to tell you when you're doing things right. It's more that when there's constructive feedback. I would say the two things that, and these are generalities, they're not specific feedback that's come in, but I think there's two things, I think for your drivers and our drivers collectively to think about at the restaurant. So number one kind of goes back to, this is the restaurant's passion. This is their food. This is their product. And so, kind of treating that food and that experience that they've created with the respect that it's their baby at the end of the day. It's a reflection of who they are. And so we see that from our drivers. We have great professional drivers. And so that is just a reminder that's not an ask. I think the second thing is, in this world we're in where most people are still ordering individual meals, right? They're not ordering. We've seen some return to the kind of buffet style catering pans, but in the world of individual meals, it's really easy to miss 1 or 2 or 3 meals, right? In that pickup. And I think just that diligence on, did I get everything that I was supposed to get? Because even if I missed 2 things on a 50 per item order, those 2 things are going to cause headaches for the employee that was expecting that lunch, or a poor experience, and headaches for the admin that they're going to deal with and ask where their lunch was. So those would be the only 2 things, but it's not, again, I think we have very high quality, very professional delivery partners like DeliverThat that we work with. And so, feedback is minimal.
Yeah, it is. It's not, I don't think upsetting would be the word to use, but like you said, when things go perfect or right, it's like that's the expectation of how it should go. So you're not gonna get all this feedback at you, like, oh, this is great, this is this, that, or the other. But yeah, like you said, when one person is missing their item, like that's when you're gonna hear about something, 2 people. So yeah, there's definitely different ends of the spectrum there. I really only have a couple few more questions, if you don't mind, if you still got time on your hand over there. You mentioned a few different times, Foodee as a technology platform. So I've been asking people here lately about AI and things of that nature. Are you using any automations on your end? Any AI boundaries that you're testing? Any limits that you're pushing towards seeing what you guys can operate within as far as using AI and like a chat GPT or things like that, using it for menus and stuff?
Yeah, so those are certainly things that we are exploring. I think we've had a long history of bringing in machine learning and items like that into our recommendation engine, which is, kind of the secret sauce, if you will, behind what restaurants get delivered to which customers on which days. And so I think that this is something that is not new for us. We've been kind of doing it for years, but of course, some of the new tools like you're talking about, Chat GPT, make it more accessible for everyone. So we're continuing to explore ways we can automate. But yeah, so I'll leave it at there for now.
Yeah, no, as if you guys are ahead of the curve, you're ahead of the curve. Hey, you don't got to tell me twice. I appreciate it. And really my last question for you, I just want to make sure restaurant partners, possible restaurant partners, possible clientele, consumers, things like that, are able to find you, get a hold of you guys, get your attention, make sure if they want to work with you, they can. So if they need to sign up to your marketplace, your platform, if they want to order from you, where can they go? How can they go about it? And what would they do?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that very important question. How do they get in
Yeah,
touch?
of course.
So
Yeah, the most important.
best way is to go to our website. It's food.ee. In the contact us section, there's either for restaurants or for clients. So it should be pretty straightforward in terms of what we do from there. There's also a nice little chat button on the website that anyone who is on the other end of that chat can direct you to the right place.
Amazing. Barb, I really greatly appreciate your time today. I know Foodee and DeliverThat have been partners for, I believe, like I said, since I've been at DeliverThat. So it's been maybe the longest standing partner at DeliverThat, if not one of the. So we appreciate all you guys' time, all your effort, working throughout the many different time zones that I know you are and we are as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. I know that people are going to appreciate it, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ben. It was a delight.